All right, so we have David Tan here. So David is a good friend of mine who I recently introduced the Framer platform to. So David, how are you?
Good, doing well, Ron. Thanks for having me.
That's awesome. So I'm going to ask you a few questions if you don't mind, more so about your experience and your experience with Framer and, overall whether you would recommend it or not. So without further ado, tell me a bit about yourself and your experience with website development.
Great. Yeah. So my name is David. I've been a web developer now for about, I would say, close to like 6, 7 years. And so basically, I've built, I manage e-commerce sites. I've worked in fintech. I've done backend development, front end development. And so, yeah, that's a bit about more about my background, right? Just kind of a jack of all trades there. And, I've been using sort of, front end frameworks before, such as Bootstrap, Foundation, things like that. And that's been pretty good, right? I think sometimes, if I haven't done any front end development for a while, you kind of get rusty with like the CSS properties, right? With like keeping up with the latest frameworks, even updates within the same sort of frameworks. I think that's always challenging, right? Because there's so much things to like, there's so many things going on in the web dev world. I think I want to have a simpler solution when it came to like building sort of a simple web page, right? Which is what I wanted to use Framework for.
Nice. And can I ask, have you ever used kind of like the drop and drag builders before or something similar?
Never. I think the closest thing was maybe just using Canva. I mean, Canva is obviously like it's not. It's usually more for like designers, right, than anything else. But I would think the closest thing would be Canva, in my opinion.
Cool. All right. With Framer, can I ask what you built with it recently?
Yeah. So right now I'm taking actually a break from full time web development. I kind of quit my job last year, so it's been about a year now. And recently, like my friend was running a simple e-commerce site on Shopify. She wanted to build another sort of landing page for one of her products. She works in F&B, food and beverages, and she said, "Hey, like, can you help me build me a simple landing page?" I said, "Sure, no problem." Right, this is kind of pretty like cut and dry stuff. Of course, it's been a year. I didn't want to spin up a whole new sort of application, and I think I wasn't really happy with like Spotify's. Sorry, did I say Spotify? Shopify's
Shopify.
templating. Yeah. So so I actually wasn't happy with Shopify's templates that they have, and I think sort of their out of the box solution was not something that was really, I was scrolling through like the dozens of templates,
Mhm.
and it was just not really what I wanted, right? And then I said, okay, well, can I start with a blank slate? But then, Shopify has their own sort of domain specific language. So it's like learning something else on top of that. And I just didn't need all that complexity for a simple landing page. I said, okay, well, what can I use instead? My friend, my client, actually mocked up the landing page on Canva, and I said, wow, like she did it within half an hour. And I was like, you know what, can there be a simpler solution, right? So that I could just kind of mimic the Canva-like experience.
Nice. Cool. And can I ask how your experience was with building that landing page in Framer?
Yeah, so lo and behold, right, I have Ron here to help me. I've been talking to you, Ron, about using Shopify before to see if you could actually give me some pointers there.
Mhm.
And then you actually introduced me to Framer, right? And you said, hey, this is simple, like drag and drop. You can modify to the CSS. So it's kind of the best of both worlds, right?
Yeah.
Uh, it gives you sort of the framework and sort of quickly kind of templating out what you need. And then if you need to, you could go into the weeds if you want to have more fine tuning. And so you kind of, you were able to send me a few sort of how-to guides. And
Mhm.
then for me, I was able to sort of build the landing page like within like a fifth of the time, right?
Awesome.
Within an hour. Sometimes
Yes.
even less, right? So like maybe within half an hour. So I was
Nice.
actually really, really happy with sort of the overall the functionality. It was pretty intuitive for
Mhm.
the most part, and the fact that it was really responsive, right? So like for example, Canva has a mode now where you could actually turn the mockup into, you could actually push it to a website. You could actually add a custom domain. The only problem is that's not responsive. So on
Um,
mobile, right, you still have the two columns there. So it's really, I mean, it's obviously not, you really can't, it's not acceptable for like it's not web ready, right? Because again, it's not responsive, right, on tablet and on mobile.
Yeah.
But on desktop, it looks
Awesome.
and so I needed a better solution to that. And so with Canva, right, I think one of the things I was impressed about was that once you finish on desktop, you could just you just literally click a button or two, and it gives you the responsiveness in mobile and also in tablet. So
Yeah.
obviously, like, there's a few tweaks that you need to make,
Yep.
to get it to sort of polish it up.
Yep.
But it was pretty minor.
And sorry, you meant Framer, right? Not Canva, with the responsiveness, the tablet and mobile.
Sorry, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So
No problem.
yeah, exactly. So basically, in Framer, I was able to hit a few buttons, and then it was able to render the desktop version, right, in those other form factors.
Perfect. And so that's a perfect segue into, I know you are a web developer by background, but would you overall recommend Framer to non-website or non-technical people?
Yes, I actually would recommend it to all kinds of people.
Nice.
Not only like even web devs, right? Obviously, like if for example, if you're familiar with something like Canva, and I keep using Canva as the base, right? Because I think it's very popular, or even Figma, right? Like UX designers, product managers, right? Marketers, right? Anyone can use it, not technically. And so it's kind of, I've seen Figma, I've used Figma, I've used Canva, right? It's very intuitive for the most part, right? And they have all other features that I'm not really aware of, right? But just a simple kind of mock-up. And you could just take that, right, knowledge base and apply it to Framer, right? And then also for like web devs, right? If you want to do something that's really simple, you don't need to have like a very complex solution, just use Framer. So I definitely would recommend that. And so even in this use case, right, with my client, like I might just ask her to like, hey, instead of using Canva, can you just go and use Framer? And then I can just polish it up, right? So I think in a way, like in terms of the development cycle overall, right, I think it will speed up, like you'll gain efficiency, right, as a whole.
That's awesome to hear. And well, thank you so much.
Great.
Cool.
Thank you so much for having me again, Ron.
All right. Thanks, David.